Well, good. Hello, everyone from all over the world. Welcome to WYD Rocks. I am Dario from worldyouthday.com, joined by my good friend Deacon Pedro from WYDcentral.org. Thank you guys for joining us on this wonderful occasion, Friday, September 16th. Another wonderful day, isn't it?
Another wonderful day. Too many worldyouthday.com, World Youth Day Rocks, WYD gets so confused.
I know, sorry.
Everybody
I
is
know.
WYD something, World Youth Day something.
And don't
We're
forget
all
all the
good.
hashtags that we come with it, right? All those hashtags. As much as it's fun to talk in the youth lingo, we know when to stop. That's the best part. Sometimes, when you're not fully in lingo, it's probably not best to pretend like you are. But we do
Yes,
our best. We do our best.
we do our best.
So interesting stuff has been happening this week. For those of you guys who've been paying attention to the world news, obviously we heard Queen Elizabeth II passed away, and now we have King, Charles III.
Charles III.
The funeral for Queen Elizabeth II is on Monday of September 9th. Oh, no, wait, it's not the 19th, is it? It's the
19th.
the 19th, right? And then we had Pope Francis recently fly to Kazakhstan after a EWTN Vaticano representative, who, by the way, is Kazakh himself, had invited the Holy Father when he was in Iraq, letting him know, hey, when are you going to come to Kazakhstan? Little did he know that in a year later, that the Holy Father would end up going to Kazakhstan. It's quite an amazing. I thought that after the Cold War, that a pope would travel between two countries, Russia and China, and go to promote peace, particularly not only peace within religious groups, considering that Kazakhstan is predominantly Muslim, but also peace in the region very close to Kazakhstan, which is Ukraine.
Of course, the leaders of Russia and or China were not there.
No,
No.
but they were invited. The Russian patriarch was invited, but unfortunately decided to
Not there
hold
either.
off because of comments that were made by the Holy Father regarding really, really calling on the Russian patriarch to promote peace rather than
Yeah.
attempt to pursue other things.
Yeah,
And
what's interesting is though that he wasn't just visiting Kazakhstan. I mean, he went to a particular congress, and it's a congress of world, excuse me, world religion leaders. I'm not sure exactly what the title of the conference is, and my understand, maybe you know more about this, Dario, but my understanding is that this is a conference that happens in Kazakhstan all the time. Like, it doesn't go from country to country. I think it's always in Kazakhstan. So that's an interesting context for the Holy Father to go and be part. I mean, he is a leader of a world religion, so of course he is totally appropriate for him to attend that gathering.
And normally, sometimes a papal envoy, like either the apostolic nuncio, in this
Yeah,
case,
or
it was
the
Archbishop Athanasius Snyder, who would have probably have attended the conference regardless. But having the Holy Father attend a conference of that nature does put emphasis on the fact that we are working towards building ecumenical dialogue with others of the world. But most importantly, also being a presence as the successor of St. Peter. The presence of the Holy Father in Kazakhstan is historic. Having the Pope visit, as you know, in Canada too, just having the Pope visit, it is an amazing opportunity
Yeah.
for the local people who don't normally get a chance to fly to Rome to be able to have that close personal encounter with the successor of St. Peter. And that's why I think it was John the 23rd who was one of the first popes to travel, because he said, people need to see the successor of St. Peter. They need to see him. And this is one of the reasons why, later St. John Paul II traveled drastically to as
Traveling
many
Pope.
countries as
Yeah.
he could, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Francis is continuing on the tradition of what St. John Paul II, Paul VI, and Benedict XVI did,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
amazing. Now that we are going through some of the things that have happened in the world, 3 days ago, it's almost odd to think 3 days ago from the Holy See, Holy Father released the letter to young people. How interesting that it was the day before the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross, considering how valuable the cross is to the World Youth Day
Yeah.
movement, right? And and he released this letter as a letter to say, hey, we are gathering soon together, but let me elaborate a little bit more on the theme. And almost like he did the job for all those catechists who are like, if we're preparing for World Youth Day, what is it going to look like? What is the theme? How do we bring this about? But no, he did just an amazing job. So this was the letter written for, I want to say, I can't read Roman numerals in this angle because you probably have it on a different screen right in front
Yes,
of you.
I do. 28th.
The 28th
27th.
World Youth, the 27th World Youth,
37th.
37th. Holy cow.
37th World Youth Day. Yes. Yeah.
I will
No,
apologize to my Latin professor right now because you did teach me Roman numerals.
37.
I'm
I can do
horrible.
37. No, what's interesting, and I want to kind of elaborate a little
Yes.
bit in case people are trying to, this is new for you. So, I mean, the Holy Father will writes letters all the time for specific occasions. Maybe you've heard about, the World Day of Communications, and I always find it interesting that, I mean, the letter is not released on the day of World, Day for, it's always released before. Why? So that people can have it ahead of time and use it to prepare for the actual day. So every year there is a World Youth Day celebrated, a diocesan Youth Day every year. And it's celebrated on the Feast of Christ the King. It used to be celebrated on the eve of Palm Sunday. Francis moved it to Christ the King. So every year there's a letter on the occasion of that annual, I like to call it Diocesan Youth Day because it's sort
Yeah.
of it's the World Youth Day that's celebrated at a diocesan level. And then, of course, every 3-4 years when it's celebrated at an international level. And that's sort of when people start paying attention to World Youth Day. But so this letter to me, and I think I'm going to sound, I don't know, maybe you can cut me off if I start sounding like I shouldn't be saying this. Like, I don't find there's anything new here because if
No.
you read the letter from last year and the letter from the year before and the letter from the year before and even the letter to Panama, it's like really bringing us to this point.
Yes. No,
Um,
you're absolutely right. Because what he's essentially he's doing is he's connecting all the dots yet again.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
been
yeah,
leaving,
yeah,
I guess you could say he's been leaving breadcrumbs, right? Leading
yeah.
you to
Okay.
a specific destination. And this is how I viewed it, because
Yep.
in essence, what he's done is in this letter, and we'll make sure this letter is posted on our video so that you guys can all have access to this letter as well. But he's basically made this letter available to say, look, here's all the dots that I've been dropping for you since
Yeah.
Panama. So we've been gathering in Panama, and I've been letting you know every year. And then the pandemic hit, so a lot of people did not pay attention to these little crumbs that were dropped. But now I'm going to emphasize it and emphasize it in such a way that we're going to not only use that theme for this World Youth Day here in this year, 2022, for the Feast of Christ the King, but we will also relive it as a worldwide gathering. So
Exactly.
promote it in a local level, but then be prepared when we gather together in the
Exactly.
world level.
And to make it more confusing, because there is a theme. So for this year, Christ the King, there's a different theme.
Right.
And we got that letter a year ago. And I don't ask me what the theme is for this year is because nobody's paying attention to it. But they all kind of lead from Panama, I'm servant of the Lord. They kind of lead towards Lisbon, arise, and Mary arose and went in haste, or go with haste, or whatever exactly the wording.
Make haste, make haste.
Make haste. Right. And it's kind of, this doesn't always happen, but there's a very clear, even chronological link from I am the servant of the Lord to Mary went in haste. That doesn't always happen from World Youth Day to World Youth Day, although I think it'd be a fascinating research paper to actually take all the themes and see how they go one from the next, and see if there's a thematic theology from one, to go from you are the salt of the earth, you're the light of the world, to let us come to adore him, to you're be clothed with power from on high, to
and then firm in the faith, right?
firm in the faith. Exactly. So I think that would be an interesting kind of catechetical study or theological study to go from theme to theme. But with this one, I think I don't think it needs a lot of explanation.
No. I mean, because if you really think about what Panama did, Panama, in a sense, it charged people to be open to receiving their vocation. Like
Mhm.
Mary responded, "I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be done according to what you say." That is responding to a vocation. And then this is taking the vocation in action.
Mhm.
Mary quickly arose and went to visit Elizabeth. Why? She knew Elizabeth was with child, but she also wanted to share the good news. Why not? If you have
Yeah.
something that you value, that you're in love with, that you absolutely
Exactly. And
cherish,
you go quickly. I'm going to go even further back. I mean, the theme for Rio was go make disciples of all nations.
right?
Very vocational, but missional. And
Yep,
then, but it's like you don't quite go because then we need to be reminded that we go, with mercy,
that's right.
merciful. Like
Yes,
that is an integral part of the mission. You don't just go and beat people over the head with a Bible. How do we proclaim, how do we make disciples with mercy,
right.
right? That's Krakow. And then remember that Mary, you're going with Mary.
Yep.
So Mary, so it's vocational, but also Marian, I am the servant of the Lord. Say yes, surrendering. And then we go in haste. So be interesting. Now I'm curious to know what the next one's going to be.
Yeah, well, we'll have to push a little hard then, because I'm hoping to have a great conversation with some of those people in Rome or in Lisbon about this. Because if you do make a good point. I think Francis is very intentional with this.
Yeah, he
It's
has
something
been in
that
a, yeah.
absolutely, and we can't deny the fact that Francis's idea, even though people are scratching their heads thinking, "My, he's all over the place." He's not.
No, he's not. He's
He's
not.
got that Jesuit mentality that everything has to be intentional, but at the same time I want to throw an idea out there and see where it goes. And he does. He's very interesting with this, especially with young people, because he's very different when he's speaking to other groups. But when he's speaking with young people, it's very direct.
Yeah.
It's very direct. There is no doubt that when he's speaking about young people or speaking to them, that he's very direct and very willful in his words, that he is challenging them to be the saints of this new millennia.
Yeah.
I really feel that reading some of the letters that he's written from, Christus Vivit to the letters for World Youth Day, and when he switched the World Youth Day to, the local diocesan World Youth Day to Christ the King, that there
Yeah.
was a specific reason. And I think going back to the concept of martyrdom, right? In Rome, Palm Sunday is really the day that we recall the martyrs, right? The lives of the martyrs, because we're about to enter into Holy Week,
Hmm.
the holiest of all weeks all year. But why not also remember that it's Christ the King, the day that we also bear up the cross,
Yeah.
and that idea that Christ is King of the universe, the King of the world, right? King of our own hearts. And then
Hmm.
reminded of lift up your cross, carry that cross, right? The World Youth Day cross has always been a visible sign to young people since 1984, in the year of of Christ the Redeemer. And now here we are thinking about Lisbon 2023, 38th World Youth Day, of how we can really take on those themes of Mary, because what a beautiful model of holiness, of simplicity, of mercy, of compassion,
Hmm.
of grace. It's not just because Lisbon is near Fatima. And we can also
Well,
speculate how Fatima can play a role in this, considering
absolutely, absolutely.
Mary's
I mean, I
role in
think I,
Fatima, right?
I think I said this a few, maybe even a few months ago, that when the bishops of Panama met with the Holy Father, when once World Youth Day it was decided that it was going to be in Panama, the bishops met with the Holy Father. Archbishop Ulloa met with the Holy Father, and they said we would like the theme. So this is an interesting thing of how the Pope comes up with the theme. So I didn't know that there was feedback from the local bishops that they felt that the theme needed to be Marian and vocational.
Mm.
Sorry, Marian and missional
Missional,
and
right?
vocational. Because that's very much the Church of Latin America. It's a church
Yeah.
that is very Marian. It's a church that's it's a lay church, and it's all about mission, like in a way that in North America I don't think we really get it. And so that makes sense that the theme of Panama was I am the servant of the Lord. So I'm sure that Fatima has something to do with, in the same way that Krakow, there's something about, being merciful and the divine mercy is very integral to Krakow, but how that connects to the narrative of themes from year to year. As you said, I think Francis has kind of taken it to the different level. I think with Benedict, it was kind of, it really felt like it was a little all over the place. Um, Although it'd be interesting to see how the Pope comes up with themes. I don't know how John Paul did or who advises him on that. But
Yeah.
that would be an interesting. There you go. Next time you meet with the Pope, there,
Yeah.
Dario, ask
Oh
him. Next time you speak to
yeah.
the Pope on the phone,
On the phone, right? Yeah.
ask
If
him,
he takes my calls, right? I mean,
ask
that's
him. Um,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I always think, does he have caller ID? He probably sees it's like, oh, some American is calling.
yeah. Oh, there he goes,
Yeah.
Dario again.
Oh, it's
No,
Dario
but
calling. Yeah, for the 40th time. Seriously, leave me alone.
it's very interesting. I mean, and the Pope, and again, I hate to say this because I don't mean it in a bad way, but there's nothing new here. These are things that Francis has been saying since day one, and Benedict and John Paul II, and like it's not new. And in fact, when the Pope was in Canada 2 months ago, he talked about Mary and Mary saying yes. At one point, and at one point, in fact, of his final address, he spoke to young people, the young people of Iqaluit, of Nunavut, and it was the same messages that he's giving young people. I mean, it wasn't for those young people; it was for young people everywhere. Get close to the light, soar higher, be part of a team. Like those are not new things. That's
no.
very sort of Francis. Um, but in the context of how you experience it, it might take different meaning, and I think that that's what makes it unique for an event like World Youth Day in Lisbon. That would be different had he said the same words six
Yeah.
years ago.
I think people also need to realize that, being the Pope, as successor of St. Peter, all he's doing is echoing the traditions of the church, the teachings of the church, and echoing from one century to the next. There's a continuity of popes that he's been echoing. I mean, it was John Paul II who started World Youth Days.
Yep.
Don't assume that Francis is doing anything new to make things even better or even different in his idea, because spirituality of the faith, even though very diverse and very, in multiple of layers, it's still the same. The faith is the same. The deposit of faith given from Christ to the apostles continues today through the apostolic succession. And we see it with our modern day bishops, particularly the Bishop of Rome, the Holy Father, the Pope. So I think we need to also remember that. And I think that a lot of people really quickly are quick to judge and quickly to say, hey, by the way, this Pope is, he's doing nothing new. So what's his point? Why does he keep echoing the same things over and over again? Sometimes we just need to hear it again.
Yeah, not sometimes. We always need to
Oh,
hear it again.
absolutely. I was
Always.
trying to be a little positive, Yeah.
No, I know.
No,
No,
yeah.
it is. So Dario, before we run out of time,
Yeah.
because next time we're going to come back and kind of look at the letter a little closely. But can you give
Yes.
us a little? Because you are the expert. You've
Oh,
read
stop.
all the World Youth Day letters of all times, and you've memorized them. Um, is there a particular format that he's following? Like, is this like you started you started our broadcast by saying that the homework is done. So like
Yes.
if a youth leader just wants
Yes.
to take this and use it, is that the intent of this letter? Is it tend to sort of inspire people to prepare them to go to World Youth Day? What would you say is the purpose of the letter, and what would you
Yeah.
say is sort of the way it's structured?
I mean, I definitely would agree that the letter that a Holy Father writes is to inspire people to attend World Youth Day.
Yeah.
He does say at the very end, which is one of my favorite quotes, and let me quote this for you, because towards the end of the letter, he tells people, look, I hope to see you. Here's what it says. Dear young people, it is my dream that at World Youth Day, you will be able to experience anew the joy of encountering God and our brothers and sisters. Remember, we've just been through a pandemic, right? So the fact that we haven't not been together that often. Just recently, we started seeing conventions and conferences happening back again. And then he continues, after a long period of social distancing and isolation, we are all we'll rediscover in Lisbon, with God's help, the joy of fraternal embrace between people and generations, an embrace of reconciliation and peace, an embrace of a new missionary fraternity, right? May the Holy Spirit kindle the hearts and desire to arise and with joy journeying together. This whole thing of accompaniment. And I want to say that the whole accompany thing is nothing new of the church, because that's what solidarity is.
Yeah, of course.
That we walk with people, that we journey with people in this journey of life. And so that this letter is another reminder that, hey, you know what? World Youth Day is coming. And I know that a lot of people are having still these doubts and these feelings of not so sure if I want to attend, or I don't know, the pandemic really hit me hard, or I lost that fizz, that joy that I had about
Yeah.
my faith
Yeah.
that I need to rediscover. And yet that's one way of looking at it. And the second way of looking at it would be, for those catechists, saying this should be a booster shot for you.
Yeah.
Like, a boost of energy, of enthusiasm to say, look, here's the Holy Father, in a sense, commissioning you to be like Mary, to go out and welcome people invite people to attend World Youth Day, invite people to attend, masses, invite people to just be present.
Exactly.
Be present. I think that's the key to a catechist, especially in today's world.
That's exactly it.
Present.
Just be present, just be there. Anyway, this is good. So hopefully that'll entice people to come back next time and unpack the letter. Maybe by then they would have read the letter, and then they
That's
can
right.
see if we get it right.
And again, this is just to tease you with the letter. So, but the next show, we will go through the letter step by step of looking at some of the elements of it. And then hopefully that will help you guys see the beautiful things that Francis is echoing again. And echoing is the key word of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys
right.
so much for joining us on this show. Again, the letter to the youth of the world and to all people of the world came out this week. Our Holy Father, Pope Francis, is encouraging you to read it. I would encourage you to read it. Both of us would encourage you to read it. It is a beautiful letter that just echoes again the beautiful themes, these breadcrumbs leading us to Lisbon. Until next time, be assured of our prayers for you. God loves you. God cares for you, wants the best for you, and loves you the way you are because you are made in his image and likeness. Never forget that. God bless you guys. Until next time, see you all later. Take care. Bye. Once.